Session 4 of structural integration is about releasing the pelvic floor and the adductors along the insides of the legs, releasing fascial impingements, subconscious muscle guarding, emotional trauma, cross-diagonal rotations. Session 4 is in the side lying position, and you begin at the calcanei and work your way up to the pelvic floor of the bottom leg. You work all along the gastroc, up into the knee, all along the adductors, until you finally reach the pelvic floor. At that point, you have to be really careful as you palpate and do. This session can be an intense session for some people because you're working up and around the pelvic floor, and that can be an intense emotional holding point for some people. For example, sexual abuse survivors, people that have been molested or traumatized in that kind of way. A lot of times they hold the record of that memory in those areas. So it's a very sensitive area. It's a very difficult area, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable. So that's why you have to really know your anatomy. You have to really know your palpation skills and check in with the person and ask them, are you okay? And work with them so that they're comfortable, because their comfort level might not be your comfort level. So it's good to check in with them and everything. Ask them how they're doing, and get in and out. Don't palpate around up in there. Don't poke around up in there. Don't sit there for no reason. Do the move, get in and get out. And then don't go back in if you can. Don't, try not to do that to people, because it's not the most pleasant experience. With that being said, it's one of the most powerful experiences or releases a person can have in terms of releasing the pelvic floor, increasing mobility of the pelvis. It's connected to the cross-diagonal rotations that go up into the opposite shoulder. If a person is having a release on the table and maybe they're remembering something that their memory had blocked out or they had forgotten, and they're processing that on the table, and sometimes people cry, sometimes people laugh, sometimes people go shaking. A lot of things happen in these sessions, and as the practitioner, you just have to be on your center and not do your best to not get caught up emotionally in the person's release. Maybe, I know a lot of times this has happened to me, where the person will be releasing on the table, and it's me. It's my story, or it's a part of my story. And so it's easy to get caught up in that story and become emotional. And then the session becomes about counseling you. And that's not what we're trying to do in the session. So, or another way it could go is if the person is suffering from depression. Sometimes we'll notice the feelings of a lack of energy or tiredness or lethargy, like you just want to go to sleep. It's really hard to stay awake. The session becomes heavy and difficult and boring, and time stops, and 5 minutes seems like 20 minutes. And that's the vibration of depression. So it can be any kind of release. And it's just important to recognize what's happening in the energy of the room and with the person, and make sure that you're detached from that so that you can facilitate the session and keep moving. Otherwise, the session will take hours and you'll be there all day. So go ahead and get through it.